After spending nearly 2 hours watching Peter Parker struggle with loneliness, grief, responsibility, and his changing powers, everything naturally comes down to one question. Does the ending actually pay off? Thankfully, the answer is yes. Without revealing major spoilers, the final act brings together everything the movie has been building from the very beginning. Peter isn't simply fighting another villain. He's fighting for something much more personal. He's fighting to protect the part of himself that still believes in hope. And that's what makes the climax feel satisfying. Unlike many recent superhero finales that become overwhelming CGI spectacles, Brand New Day keeps its emotional core intact. Even during the biggest action moments, the story never loses sight of Peter Parker. That balance is exactly why the ending works. As much as I enjoyed this movie, it's not completely perfect. One criticism I couldn't ignore is that Marvel seems to be returning to a familiar emotional formula. Think about some of the strongest MCU films from recent years. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 focused on trauma. Black Panther. Wakanda forever explored grief. Thunderbolts centered around emotionally damaged heroes searching for healing. And now, Brand New Day also revolves around a protagonist carrying deep emotional scars. To be clear, there's absolutely nothing wrong with telling emotional stories. In fact, they're often Marvel's strongest films. But when you step back and look at the bigger picture, the similarities become noticeable. Even parts of the emotional climax reminded me of Thunderbolts. Fortunately, Brand New Day executes those ideas with enough sincerity that they still feel impactful. So while the structure may seem familiar, the emotional journey remains compelling. Another pleasant surprise is the comedy. Marvel movies have often been criticized for relying too heavily on jokes, especially during serious scenes. Brand New Day finds a much healthier balance. Spider-Man is naturally funny. He's always making jokes during fights. That's simply who Peter Parker is. The movie respects that aspect of the character, but it also understands when to stop joking. When Peter is hurting, the film allows him to hurt. When emotional conversations happen, they're allowed to breathe. That restraint makes the comedy land even better, because the jokes arrive naturally instead of feeling forced. Personally, I did wish we had seen a little more of Ned Leeds. His absence is understandable given the story, but his friendship with Peter has always been one of the MCU trilogy's biggest strengths. A little more screen time for Ned would have made the emotional journey even stronger. Tom Holland delivers his best Spider-Man. If I had to choose one reason to watch this movie, it would be Tom Holland. This is easily the most mature performance he's delivered as Peter Parker. Earlier films showcased his youthful energy, his excitement, his awkward humor. Here, we finally see the emotional cost of being Spider-Man. Holland perfectly captures someone who refuses to give up, even when life has taken almost everything away from him. At the same time, he never forgets that Peter Parker is still hopeful, still compassionate, still willing to sacrifice himself for complete strangers. That combination of vulnerability and optimism has always defined Spider-Man, and Holland finally gets the opportunity to explore it fully. If you've ever doubted whether Tom Holland could carry a Spider-Man movie entirely on his own, Brand New Day answers that question. Absolutely. Destin Daniel Cretton understands Spider-Man. Another huge reason this movie succeeds is its director. Destin Daniel Cretton clearly understands what makes Spider-Man different from other superheroes. It's never about being the strongest. It's about remaining kind despite suffering. Throughout the movie, Cretton constantly reminds us that Peter's greatest strength isn't his web shooters, or his spider sense, or his physical abilities. It's his humanity. Every major decision Peter makes comes from compassion rather than revenge. Even when he's emotionally broken, he continues trying to save people. That philosophy is what has always separated Spider-Man from many other comic book heroes. And Brand New Day embraces that beautifully. Where does it rank among Spider-Man movies? Now comes the difficult question. Where does Brand New Day rank in Spider-Man history? For me, it's comfortably the best Spider-Man movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yes. I enjoyed it more than Homecoming, more than Far From Home, and even more than No Way Home, because unlike those films, this one feels entirely focused on Peter Parker. However, would I place it above Sam Raimi's first two Spider-Man movies? Not quite. Those films remain timeless classics. And when it comes to animated storytelling, the Spider-Verse movies still sit at the very top. So my personal ranking would look something like this. Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi, Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man, Across the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man, Brand New Day Spider-Man, 2002. Then the remaining MCU entries. That alone should tell you how much I enjoyed this film. Final pros and cons. So before giving my final score, let's quickly break down the biggest positives and negatives. What works? The emotional storytelling. Tom Holland's career-best performance. Excellent action choreography. Beautiful cinematography. Grounded neighborhood-level Spider-Man. A strong supporting cast. Fantastic chemistry between Tom Holland and Zendaya. An outstanding Punisher debut. A compelling new villain. And perhaps most importantly, a story that remembers Peter Parker is just as important as Spider-Man. The opening spends a little too much time reminding audiences about No Way Home. Some emotional themes feel familiar compared to recent Marvel movies. Certain twists are fairly predictable. I also wanted more screen time for Ned, and although the finale is satisfying, it occasionally echoes ideas we've already seen elsewhere in the MCU. None of those issues ruin the experience, but they do prevent the movie from reaching absolute perfection. Final rating. So, after considering everything, the performances, the direction, the emotional storytelling, the action, the humor, and the overall experience, I'm giving Spider-Man Brand New Day 4.5 out of 5 stars. This isn't just one of the strongest MCU films of recent years, it's a reminder of why audiences fell in love with Spider-Man in the first place. Not because he always wins, but because he keeps getting back up after life knocks him down. And honestly, that message feels more relevant today than ever. So that's my complete review of Spider-Man, Brand New Day. Now I want to hear from all of you. Have you watched the movie? Do you think this is the best Spider-Man film in the MCU? Or do Sam Raimi's classics still hold the crown? Share your thoughts down in the comments because I'd genuinely love to know your ranking. If you enjoyed this review and want more in-depth movie reviews, Marvel breakdowns, ending explanations, and entertainment news, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Thank you so much for watching.